Hello and welcome to our fourth quarter of Discover Love Academy. We have been working with such incredible, phenomenal, fantastic experts over this last year, and I'm really excited because now we get to hear the wrap up of our year program and learn some more. And I'm excited because this topic is so important. So it's the perfect last topic of this incredible speaker. So Camille, I want you to jump in and tell us a little bit about you, why you chose to be a part of this year program, and then we're going to talk about your topic. I'm really excited. So tell us a little bit about what you do and what inspires you to be such an advocate for love.
Sure. Thanks, Jacqueline. So I'm an offline dating coach, and so I help women, but really anyone, make connections in the real world. So if you don't want to be dating online, or maybe it's not working for you, giving you the results that you want, or even if you do love online dating, I feel like dating should be a two-pronged approach. So while you're meeting people online, you should also have the skills to meet them offline, because we pass so many people every single day. If you're not tapping into a fraction of that, you're just missing out. So that's what I do. And I really just have this passion for connection. I think that we have more ways to communicate now than ever, but we're more isolated now than ever. And so, to have these skills, not just in your dating life, but in every aspect of your life, for coworkers, making new friends, connecting with a stranger, talking to your parents.
Right.
I just think it's so important.
I think it's so true. And I think people are missing that boat. They're missing the value because we take it for granted, or if you've just been so out of using that muscle of just knowing people. It's why I do little get-togethers for clients, just to get people out of their homes, just to sit around the table and talk or mingle or have a big social. But I noticed that for a lot of people that we've almost developed an anxiety of getting out and meeting people, and it is stressful, and because it's so easy to hide behind the online, the phone, when really we want to meet people. So this is such a valuable topic. I was just seeing one of my friends online was commenting how she was just doing a nanny job and struck up a conversation with another gentleman who was also doing a nanny job at the park. And she's like, wow, I never expected that. I would meet somebody who wasn't a parent, but had a good time at the park and just had a nice conversation. And it was that unexpected. We don't realize how sometimes just getting out makes the difference. And the other person wants to see how you live your life too. So it's a mutual win-win, being able to help people to see the value of just getting out and letting that organic possibility be something that you could meet somebody cool. You might build a friendship. You never know where it's going to go, but to build those relationships is so important. And we need human touch. We need human eye contact. We need a human to know that we're not completely talking to ourselves all day.
Right.
Does it make such a difference? So I'm ready to dive into this topic. I hope you are too, because it's so important, because your title of our class is awesome. How to have the best first date ever. And this is the whole thing, because if you suck at your first date, you probably aren't going to get a second date. So we really need to build up that confidence and that knowledge and the know-how of how to make that first date the best. So what constitutes a fabulously amazing first date, and how to kind of line yourself up for that? Tell us a little bit about that.
So I think that it's, getting comfortable with the connection part, and, whether you met the person online or offline, the person that you're going on the date with, it doesn't really matter, because we all eventually are going to get to that date, and you're going to need offline skills. So I would say, in a nutshell, what constitutes a great first date is that you were relaxed, you had fun, you showed some of your personality, and you got to know the other person. Beyond that, we can't really control, what those dynamics are, or, how the other person reacts or things like that. But if you can come away from a first date saying those things, it's going to be a great first date. It's going to, maybe he's not the one, maybe she's not the one, but it moves you one step forward and gets you open and practicing for the person who is right for you.
Mm-hmm. That's what's so big. And really creating that genuine connection. How do you know it's a genuine connection? I mean, that kind of sounds funny, but I find a lot of time as a professional matchmaker, I have had so many people that one will tell me about the date and the other one will tell me about the date. And I'm like, were you guys on the same date? And I think too often we're in a different planet when we're on a date and we're really not connecting. We're focusing so much on, do they fit our wish list? Am I saying the right things? But they're not making that actual genuine connection. So how do we get that genuine connection started?
I would say for anyone watching this video, it's now kind of your position to go first with that genuine connection, because you are watching the skills that are going to create that genuine connection. Not everyone's going to watch this video, unfortunately. Not everyone's going to get the skills for connection, but if you have them, it's kind of your responsibility to take the lead with it. And in a great way, because it's going to benefit you, it's going to benefit the other person. Most people are not used to connecting deeply with other people, or honestly, or being present in the moment. So when you have those skills, you're a rarity. You're a freaking unicorn.
So true.
And it's a gift. And so by you going first, you give the other person permission to do it. And it's not conscious. They're not going to be like, oh, this person is showing me their true personality, so therefore I'm going to show them mine. You make people feel comfortable, because people have a BS radar. Is going to add it a little bit there, but they have a BS radar. They can tell when you're putting on something or you're not being completely truthful. So if you just are truthful and you're comfortable with that because you've done it so many times, you're going to allow them the space to give that back to you. And that's where the real connection happens.
Exactly. And I really believe so strongly what you're saying about, if you know how to be a better dater, then take the lead, because so often the other person isn't coming with the skill set. Their heart's in the right place and they want it. But if you try to act at their level and they haven't done the work, then neither one's going to move forward. So that's where I totally applaud the people that are listening, the people that are engaging. And I've told this to my clients over and over and over as a matchmaker. As much as when I first started, I thought, oh, well, I'm just going to introduce a bunch of cool people and they're going to do great. And then I quickly realized, no, people suck at dating. They really don't get it. And it was such an eye-opener to go, this isn't working. This is not working just to do it the way it was in high school and even college. And, we just had a different attitude when we were young and innocent and naive. But there's also that feeling of someone needs to take the lead. It doesn't matter if it's male or female, but taking the lead that I'm interested in you. I really want to connect with you. And then it lets the other person's guard go down, and it helps them feel like, oh, this is mutual, because that's probably one of the number one frustrations, along with not having enough time, with getting enough dating time. People get too busy in their schedules. But when they actually are on the date, there's that feeling of, I don't know if she's into me. I don't know if he likes me, when the other person's like, yes, but they're not expressing that. So what are the ways to kind of get that chemistry started and making that connection?
So I would say, asking questions is always a really good place to start. And they have to be questions you actually want to know the answer to, because that's another thing is people can tell when you're afraid of the silence and you're just asking questions to fill the silence and you're not really listening to the answer. And they're not going to, they're not going to keep answering the questions. B, They're not going to answer in a way that actually is meaningful. People can tell when you're listening. So therefore, start it off not by asking bland questions that you don't care what, oh, so what's your favorite color? Which is also a one-word answer. Blue. Right. Okay, done. So ask something that's that requires more than one word answer and that you really care about. So maybe you notice that they have a patch from Russia on their bag or something. And you're like, oh my gosh, what's that? Tell me about that. I love travel and I've been to Russia and blah, blah. And they're like, oh, well, blah, 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 blah. And so it's starting there, because then you're engaged in a conversation. They can tell you're engaged and you're asking them a question. So you're not broadcasting yourself yet. That will come later. You got to showcase yourself a little bit later, but start with the other person. Again, you have these skills that we're talking about right now. And so taking the lead of creating that safe space, and that, hey, by the way, I'm actually listening and I'm probably different than the other women that you've been dating.
Yes. And honestly, that's one of the biggest compliments if halfway through the date or the end of the date, someone refers back to something you were saying, because we've gotten to that place where, especially the people that are just on so many first dates but never getting to the second one, they're wondering what's going on. And they get to where I'm really not listening to you because this probably isn't going to go anywhere. So they've almost programmed themselves for failure, which is so sad. But I'm hearing it from people that have just done, to me, too much online dating is what I'm noticing, because it's so easy to go, yeah, let's meet. Okay, let's get together. But they're not really trying to find someone to court and make a connection with. They're just trying to prove once again it didn't work. And so they're really not listening. And then at the end, both people kind of leave a little empty and a little, displaced. So that's a big one to say, what are some ways to get the conversation started that are more genuine and you're actually having the conversation?
Yeah, I mean, if you when people tell me they can't get past the first date, it's almost always because they are not connecting at a deeper level. They have their first date routine, maybe they have their first date outfit, their first date place, and they have their first date questions. And then they wonder why they're not getting any different results, because they're showing up and doing the exact same thing that they didn't enjoy on all the other 30.
So true.
So break that cycle. You got to break that cycle. If you're not getting the results you want, you need to do something differently. So find out what do you not like about dating? If you can't get past the first date, chances are you're not having the best first dates ever. Chances are you're not having fun and the other person's not having fun and you're not getting a second date. So, think about it. Are you stuck on surface level conversation? That's for me as an introvert, a hell in and of itself, So ask those questions to get a little bit deeper. Those become like a detective of curiosity, get to know this other human who's sitting across from you, who cares about the other 50 first dates. This is a brand new human you know nothing about. Right. Start learning. That's like trying to say that every biography out there is the exact same. Of course it's not. We wouldn't read the same book.
I love that. That's so true. And that's the thing, is that we forget that each connection is totally different. And that's the part where I definitely see as a matchmaker, how many people just kind of lump it all together and are wondering why there isn't a connection. But it's so true. Unless you're going to do things differently, you're going to keep getting the same results. And we've said it a gazillion times in every aspect of life, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over, but expecting different results. But really stopping and listening to what you're saying, Camille, and going, hey, I actually go into every first date with this total controlled setup. I have this, do I hug? Do I not? Do I kiss? Do I not? Do I schedule the next date or not? And you've already pre-decided everything before you even walked out the door, which doesn't really mean that you're dating a new person. It just means that you're letting a new person meet you. And that's such a huge difference that you are really bringing to light of make this different, shake this up.
Yeah, stop going through the motions. And I know that can be scary. It's like, well, I can tell myself I'm putting myself out there because I'm going on all these first dates, but I just haven't met the right person yet. Well, you've got to go deeper. You've got to take some responsibility and be like, are you really, I kind of hate the term putting yourself out there, but are you really showing up? Are you really getting to know this other person? Because if you're not truly getting to know them, how can you expect them to truly get to know you and think that you're different from the other 50 first dates they've gone on?
Yeah. And that's actually really important. Is one of the things I say to clients a lot is how to be unforgettable. Be someone that doesn't blend in. And truthfully, you look through, I've got great, amazing, eligible men and eligible women, but there are a lot of them that are similar. There's a lot of them that have similar hobbies and interests, similar looks, set amount of them that have goatees or bobs or, whatever it is, that we have to stand out. What is that something that makes it where the person can't forget you? Because you don't want to be on a date and later the guy's kind of like, which girl was that? There's nothing special. So finding out what makes you special sounds like something that you really teach your clients. But how do people find out what makes them unique?
So you're totally right. I love to teach the same thing because we are all unique, and we're not used to showcasing that. It's either, on one end of the spectrum, people who try to brag and shove their accomplishments down the throats of other people they meet. And then on the other hand, there's super interesting, awesome people who just don't know how to talk about that. So they don't, and you never know that about them.
Right.
So what I like to do is getting clear on what makes you unique. What do you what do you like to do on a Saturday afternoon? Or if you could do anything with no budget, what would you like to do? Or if you could go back to school with a full paid tuition for a master's degree, what would it be and why? And like, have fun with it. Try thinking of like, well, this is kind of weird, but I'd love to like, go build houses in Africa because my friend did that and the pictures looked amazing and it's always been in the back of my mind. And, instead of doing that, I can't do that tomorrow. Like, right now I've got obligations. So I do Habitat for Humanity in Louisiana every year. And then that stuff starts coming out and you're like, that's awesome. Oh my God. Find a way to bring that up. And a way to do that very authentically is to say, if you volunteer like that, ask the other person something that they're passionate about, or ask, are you into charity work or giving back to the community at all? And then that question will, unless the other person is a narcissist, ask you that question back, which is when you can then showcase that.
That's so powerful. And I think a lot of people, and as I've noticed with clients, they've kind of put their lives on hold on doing things that matter to them. Maybe they were in a long-term marriage, maybe they've just been single for a long time, but they really haven't dug in, or they're honestly just waiting for their person. And I think that's still okay to say, I've always had a dream to do this. It doesn't mean you have to have already fully arrived at every level possible. It means that you have dreams and you will add to the relationship, because maybe your life kind of got mundane and got a little boring, but now you have an opportunity to open it up and bring more forward. And that's a lot of what I see people, they just want somebody else to dream with, somebody else that is an action taker and wants to, maybe they haven't had the opportunities. So I like how you bring that in, that my dreams are unique too. And my wishes and my wants are still there. It doesn't mean I've been able to implement all of them. If you're busy raising kids, who knows what it is, or health issues. So it's so important that you stop and actually dig into that. Like, find something that you're going to add to the conversation that's kind of cool. Like, it's a good thing.
Totally. And that's where you become unforgettable. Now you're the person who wants to build homes in Africa and you build them in Louisiana every year. You're not, which girl was that?
Right. Exactly. And that's truthfully, like, people remember often not your name, but they remember the story you told them, and the ability to just kind of be available. Like, I have this new couple that just started dating, and they have every chance that they're going to totally make it because they're both fully in. There's no confusion. They're not doing the, well, let's just wait and see how it goes dance. They're like, you know what? We fit what we both want. Let's just do this. And it takes away all that pressure of trying to debate and communicate, of like, I don't know, calling your friends, does he like me? I don't know if she's interested. Oh, I better wait 3 days, whatever stupid rule we have in our heads. And it's like, I'm watching this new couple merge together, and it's like, they're both, because obviously I knew them before they got matched, they're both just so full of love, and they're so ready just to give it, that they're just hoping they're targeting the right person. So when you receive somebody who is so full of love too, and you just let it exude. I think too often we hold back and filter and really deny ourselves, just saying, you know what, you're awesome, I'm awesome, we both want the same things, let's just have some fun with this, and not be so stuck in the, well, we need to slow it down, we need to do this because the last relationships I had went too fast, or my past did this. And so what do you think about that? Like, when you talk about chemistry, making that connection, what do you think on how do we progress so we're not sitting there in la la land wondering like, okay, I met this really great guy at the park, but what happens next? Like, how do we make some progress with this?
So I would be honest without being like totally intimidating, I guess. Intimidating is the wrong word. Be honest with where you're at. So, if you like someone and you're like feeling really strongly about them, find what's comfortable for you to share that with them. Don't hold, because I think you're right, Jacqueline. We tend to like hold that back and be like, well, I don't want him to think that I like him. Yeah, yes, you do. You do.
The goal is to get a like in return.
Right? Exactly. And sometimes, again, we need to go first because we don't know what other people are dealing with. We don't know their skills with dating. He may be the best boyfriend in the world or best husband in the world, but he just got out of a 7-year relationship and he's got a lot of fresh trepidation, so by you creating that safe space again, because you've done the work, and really saying like, well, I don't know, I think that you're really special. I had fun on our date, and just leave it at that. Could
Yeah.
be one sentence, and that's the honest truth. You're not, saying I want to marry you and be with you for the
Right.
rest of my life. But that's the honest truth, and that's something that then you've done your part. Then let him kind of meet you there too, and
Right.
then once he does, then you guys can go a little bit further together.
I love that. And I think it's so important. You're bringing up a really good topic of we have to understand where they're coming from too. So even though they could potentially get to that place where they can be the perfect match for you, right now maybe they need to take it slow because of where they're at. So the good things come to those that wait. And it is very true. Like you have to feel like you're getting something out of the courtship, but it might not be at the pace you'd want. But don't hold back your desire and interest in them, but you also can't expect that maybe somebody who needs some alone time, needs some personal reflection time, is going to be ready to see you 7 days a week. And so I think that too often people have a hard time lining up the timing of the availability, because obviously once you're actually in a full committed relationship, chances are you see each other pretty much every day or majority of the time, but you don't always start out that way. So for like this new couple, they're totally going to start that way. That's just how they both are. So it works perfectly. But for a lot of people, they need to build up to sharing that much time with somebody, making the extra, but knowing how to be very present when they are with that person. And that's where I feel like your skill set is so important to share on that organic level, because when you're meeting online, you pre-read a whole profile, you have all these emails that have gone back and forth, and it's really easy to think you already pre-know somebody when the profile is just the billboard. I mean, we use profiles in my matchmaking service just so we can keep everybody organized, but my clients meet right away. But I know people that do online dating, they tend to take a lot longer to meet, and they turn into these pen pals where you've got to meet the person. You've got to have that connection. And that's what's so much fun when you're, at a restaurant and you I spy someone and strike up a conversation. You don't know anything other than the fact that he's got great eyes. And then you start unveiling information on that date. And I think that's one of the coolest things about organic offline dating, is that you get to discover somebody for who they want to be at that moment, not from some pre-made profile that pre-qualifies all these details.
I love that. Yeah, it's true. I mean, and for anyone watching, how often has someone's profile not matched up with the person? So, they've already had those experiences.
Exactly. Yeah, we don't need to date ourselves. We need to date somebody new and unique. And there is just something really cool to be like, I'm just totally drawn to you. I don't know why. I don't know what your story is, but let's figure this out. And then you learn from each other. You never know where it's going to go, but letting yourself feel free to date the way we used to date before the internet. I mean, it was quite lovely out there. You meet people and you just didn't need to know so much. And I feel like with your offline dating tips, it really helps to think about how you don't have to have all the information. You don't have to have all the answers. So that is a huge part of making it so you have the best date ever. But now, how do you get to know somebody that you've got the privacy, the quiet, the introverted type person, yet there's also the people, as you've made the comment, narcissist, and how to find what's that balance between the two? So tell me a little bit about that.
Sure. Like how to identify that, or
Yes, exactly. How to identify, is this somebody who's like shy and pulled back? Because in an organic situation, it's one thing to be like, you're super cute, but if they're not going to be assertive or know how to introduce themselves, sometimes the women do have to make a little more move and saying, hey, I saw you over here, or I wanted to come over and say hi. But it's like, are they super focused on themselves, or are they just a little more shy or a little more introverted?
yeah. So I would say, if you're noticing that they're maybe not, I don't know, not engaging a lot, or they're seeming kind of shy, I would just ask them. I'm to the point in my life where if I notice something, I know how to say it in a way that's not like accusatory, but it's like, hey, I'm sensing you're a little quiet. Is everything okay? And just put it out there. Give them that space to, it's a very direct question,
Mhm.
and it acknowledges, kind of the elephant in the room, which is like, all right, I'm kind of talking to myself here. What's going on? Are you not interested? Is this your personality? Are you having a bad day? Like, without saying that, but giving them that space of like, hey, here's what I'm noticing.
Right.
Tell me about this.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's what's important, is to really find someone that does feed back the nourishment of you dating, because I think too often it's easy to go, oh, you're really cute, you're really pretty, and there's nothing more. And so, how do we dig in a little bit more to get past just that initial, because it does have to be a bit superficial, because you've got to be like, hey, I want to get to know that person. And whether it's their voice or their conversation, or maybe there's somebody that was working at a place and you clicked, or they happen to be at an event and you saw how they were interacting with other people. So there's so many ways that we can read somebody, but until you actually converse, you don't know if you're a chemistry connection or not.
Yeah, exactly. And so do whatever you need to in that moment to not walk away from that date being like, I wonder, was it me? Was it him? Was he having a bad day? I don't know. Like, take that off the table and ask in the moment while you have him there. Because then, maybe he doesn't answer the question. Maybe he's not willing to be vulnerable. Maybe he doesn't care. He's not having fun. Who knows? But at least look at the answer, and then you can walk away and be like, all right, wasn't meant to be. I did my part. I showed up. I asked questions. I, acknowledged the situation. His loss.
Yeah. And actually, I think that's really important to ask in the moment. That's a tough one, because I know myself, when I leave a situation, I'm like, all these ideas, and I'm like, oh, I wish I asked this. I wish I thought about that. But giving yourself permission to stop and think, okay, before I go on this date, I want to really observe him. I want to act like this is going to be a success. I definitely do that with clients. I'm like, pretend he's your future person, and that this is going to be that great first date love story that you're going to talk about. Throw yourself all the way in if you think there's any potential. And then if he doesn't bite on it, he doesn't respond, he doesn't reciprocate, at least you thoroughly dove in. But I love the asking the question and having that, because we don't want to put ourselves in that spot where it's not clicking or it's not, but let's just figure it out right now and give the other person a chance to respond, because maybe they just have a really bad headache, or maybe they're just kind of frustrated with something in life. We never know really what it is that is going on in someone's mind. It's so easy to assume. We just totally are usually way off base on what's going on.
Totally. Yeah. And it's like, why even try to figure that out yourself, which is exhausting? Why not just ask? You're going to get the right answer. You're going to get it pretty quickly. Or even the lack of answer is an answer.
That is so true. Very, very true. And, if you're not feeling like they're enjoying it and they're not into the date, then, wish them well and move on. And sometimes I think that's the best date, when you're like, good, at least we both showed up. At least I did something, and then have plans of something fun to go do afterwards, like just in case it doesn't work, allowing yourself to feed in a good energy. I've had people that are like, yeah, I went on a date with someone I met online, and then I decided to go and get a cup of coffee and just hang out. And I started talking to somebody else because I was no longer thinking about the date. I was feeling great. And then the conversation struck into something so much more. And that's what I think is really, really cool, because you're prepared to be surprised in its own kind of way by being more present and being more available. And that makes a big difference. So what are some of the things that you think people should learn on a first date to know if they should go to the next date? Because obviously when you meet organically, a lot of times you don't really know anything other than you think they're kind of hot. And so what are some of the things that people should ask or learn to see if they should continue the dating process?
So I would say don't be afraid to ask questions that ask for what they're looking for. And there's a way to do this. You don't say like, oh, do you want kids? Or, you can, it's a little forward, but I would say like, so where do you want to be 5 years from now? Or what made you want to reach out to me or ask me out? Or, things like that. And approach it not with I want to get an answer from you and see if it matches my answer, but with a natural curiosity.
Right. I like that.
and release that outcome of maybe he's going to be like, well, I just got back on the dating scene. I'm not ready for anything serious. I just got divorced. And you're like, oh, okay, cool. So I maybe was divorced 8 years ago, and now I'm ready. I've done the internal work, and I'm ready to find someone. And so you guys realize that you're not on the same page, and that's fine. Then you have a beautiful friendship. Maybe he introduces you to his best friend or something, because he's like, this woman is awesome.
Right.
That kind of thing. So
I like asking kind of, where somebody's at. I think that's a really good question, Camille. You've definitely touched on a point, because as much as we can say we want to find our person, sometimes we're not really ready for full-on dating. Sometimes we just want to have somebody to hang out with on a Friday night occasionally, or go on a hike, or go get some happy hour. And that's okay. You can be there. And many organic people that I've met, that's often what it is. We just are in that moment. We just both feel compelled, and it doesn't always go anywhere, but it's that fact of just, I see you, you see me, what do we want to do about it? And then there's plenty of times when it's been really cool, where you meet someone just so unexpectedly and possibilities brew because you're both ready. And it seems so much that you won't know that unless you ask, where are you at on your dating journey? That's a great thought to kind of put out there and get the feedback early on, because I think people are pretty honest in the first date. I think it's after a couple of dates they might filter a little more, because they're either cautious or not sure where they want to go. So I think you're spot on with those questions.
Thanks. And I will tell you, like, I've struggled with this too, because I didn't wanted to not, don't let him know that I like him. Don't let him know that I want something serious. It's like, well, wait a second. That has gotten me all the wrong guys who didn't want something serious. So how do I stop that from happening? Well, let me just ask on the first date, because if we're not compatible, why get emotionally involved? Why waste your time? Now you're more emotionally involved, and you could try to convince yourself that you want what they want, just so you can keep dating them, because now you like them.
Right.
Whereas, so if you found that out in the very beginning, you didn't get as attached. And so it's a lot easier to be like, cool, you seem really awesome, but like, we're just on different pages with this. And, I wish you the best.
Right. Exactly. And I think that's what it really comes down to is, where are you on your love journey? What are you looking for? How flexible are you with that? Maybe they, are going to come around in the next few months, and maybe that's just how they need to go slow. And you've got time. You can be a little bit busy with other things. Or maybe you're like, no, I really need someone who steps up. I need full on. I definitely have some clients that are like, I need it all at one time. And that means they're going to scare some other people. But when they find the right person, it's going to be amazing. And that's just who they are. They can't self-contain their love mojo. And then there's other people that have been really badly hurt, and it just takes a little time for them to get some trust and some compassion. But it's seeing how that person keeps showing up. It's getting that initial connection. And especially with all of your amazing offline teaching, you also teach a lot about how to communicate offline, where you're not just going back to just texting and emailing. So what are your thoughts on phone calls, your thoughts on gifts, or things that are more tangible? Like, how do you keep connected in dating that person offline?
So I would say, I'm not really a gifts person. I know there's the whole like love languages. So some other people may be gifts person. But for me, it's connection. It's talking. It's making sure that I know that, they're still interested. They're still getting to know me. They're curious. I'm showing them appreciation and gratitude in return, that kind of thing. So I would say keep asking those questions. Like, we can ask ourselves questions, getting to know ourselves for the rest of our life. So, meeting someone at age 30-something, 40-something, 50-something, of course there's enough questions to last, for a lifetime together for the next 50 years, because there's so many things to get to know about ourselves as well as other people. And you could be coming in with a whole different perspective, asking them questions they've never even asked themselves. And so, and it could be, it doesn't have to be like the meaning of life or anything like that, but it could just be, if you could go anywhere in the world, where would you go? Or who is your favorite teacher and why? And that, it's not just about the teacher. It's not just about the country that they name that they would travel to. It's the why. And so like, because that usually reveals something deeper, not just naming one word, but why. And that gets people thinking in a way that they probably haven't been thinking to themselves.
I'd like that. Yeah, because it's stirring up thoughts and stimulating the mind. And then you can see if you like what they're responding back, and it's continuing and growing that conversation and building the connection. So when you talk about the best first date ever, you've referred to, how we kind of look and get to know somebody. So what and even when we were pre-talking about this, you talk about how to have a short list, not a checklist. And I love that phrasing. That is so powerful because I feel like you can almost see their eye twitch, like, oh, it's that person. Oh, it's that one. Oh, that one's not on my list. Oh, can't date them. And it's like, oh my gosh, we can get so caught up in this crazy list when it's really about something else. So tell me about the short list.
So we're not really I think we can be our own worst enemies when it comes to dating. And, I think it is important to get clear on what you want, but we don't know what package that's going to show up in. Mm-hmm. And also the human brain can really only focus on 5 to 7 things at a time. I just learned this the other day and I was like, yes, that makes so much sense. So if you have this laundry list of things, most of which probably don't matter, like eye color or height or cuisine preference, it's going to be really hard to keep track of what's important versus not. And you're going to be so focused on whether they match this list or not, you're not going to be present to find out if you actually even like this person. So
yes,
having those core, I would say 3 to 5 traits, and values, not tangibles, not looks, things like that. Keeping those in mind and then inserting those into your questions. So going back to our question of, the person who does Habitat for Humanity and he wants to know if his date is into giving back to the community, if she's like, oh, hell no, I don't have time for that. Okay, then maybe his core value that he was very clear on of giving back and generosity is not a good match for her. And maybe ask some follow-up questions and make sure that's the case. But those kinds they can come out in the questions. And so get clear on your core 3 to 5 traits or values that are deal breakers, absolute deal breakers, that if your celebrity crush, if you were on a date with your celebrity crush and they said that they were on the same page with you, you wouldn't be able to continue dating them, because we give so much leeway, like you said, to people who we're really attracted to or we really like. And, oh, well, he hates cats and I have 3 and I love them like my children, but that's okay. That's okay. We'll figure it out. It's like, no, that's not compatible.
Right. It isn't. Totally true.
Yeah, when you're clear on that going in, if I have to have someone who maybe he doesn't love cats, but he's open to having cats because these are my babies and they're not going anywhere anytime soon. But,
So true. Well, and I think that you brought up such a valid point in I'll go around the table on a smaller get together and be like, so what are you looking for? And when the first response is he has to be this tall, or she has to have this education, I'm like, okay, you're completely missing what this is really about. You've got this image imprinted in your mind, and it is amazing. In all my years as a matchmaker, more often than not, I will have clients tell me, I fell for the person I wasn't expecting I would fall for. It happens more times than the person they expected they would fall for. And it's always a little bit different. And what I have really noticed is it has more to do with the fact that we get these things in our head, how we want the person to be. We all have certain body types we like. You just kind of go, that's a body type. But I totally walk in and I'll be like, hey, I like that body type. But, that's called genetics. That's just lucky if you get a fall for the person who actually has the body type you like. But it's the one of all the things, that does matter. Do they want to get married? If there's somebody who never wants to, then don't date somebody who has absolutely you might eventually get married, but that's going to take a while. But, if they are done having kids, don't marry them hoping they're going to want to have kids again, because that's not fair to anybody. There are certain things that really matter, smoking or drinking or activity level and perspective, that those are core essences of people that I think people get so caught up in the superficial because we see it. And especially offline, you look at them and you're like, hey, I like your look. So we can start that conversation. But once you start talking and you're past just the initial looks, you have to make sure you have the other things in common. And you are so right at that people are caught up in these long lists, or they're tapping into a computer to spit the person out. And it doesn't even work with online dating, let alone, this isn't weird science. We don't have that TV in the movie. It's about really finding what it is that you want in a relationship. Who do you want to spend all your freaking time with?
Totally. And be prepared that he or she is probably not going to show up in the package that you thought they were, to your point. Like
Yeah.
they usually are not. In fact, like whatever image you're holding, rest assured they're probably not going to look like that. And so if you get clear on the actions and the core traits and the values, then you can spot them. Because if you're looking for this, like body type or whatever, you're going to completely miss them when they show up and they're like right in your face and they're, helping you bring your suitcase down the stairs or something like that. And, like, oh, what a great guy. Oh, too bad he's not the one for me. I have this totally random image in my head that is not going to come true, but I don't know that.
Right, exactly. Yeah, I have to say I really was surprised with the amount of matchmaking that I've done. How many clients are like, yeah, I wasn't expecting that was the person I was going to fall for, but I feel like a deeper connection. And I think once we get past the superficial, we actually find a stronger connection and chemistry, and we get to know somebody at a much deeper core level. And that's one of the things I love about organic offline dating is that it's almost like part of your own energy just clicks with somebody. You're just drawn, like, I have to get to know that person. And you've been so great in past classes that we've done saying, have no regrets, make the extra effort. Even if that person doesn't turn out to be your person, you could have, at least you had a few fun dates and they were a nice person. You didn't click maybe, but you took advantage of the opportunity and you were prepared to be successful, because then you know that you can't regret later going, oh, I never tried, I never did. But the other person, what a compliment for somebody to stop and be like, I'm super intrigued by you. Can I get your number? Can we follow up? Can we continue a conversation? Too often we forget that the other person might be feeling the same vibe too. And when you have that instant chemistry connection, it's like you got to do something with it. So I love that you teach this. I think it's so important.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I'm really passionate about it because I've been in the position of, oh my God, I like this guy. I think he likes me too. I don't know what to do. I'm going to run away. And then it's like, you're kicking yourself for so long after that. I mean, sometimes years, like, something will remind you of it. You're like, oh God, that time that maybe that was my person. And I totally just, handled that wrong.
Right. And we get so many opportunities every day that we're out and about, and there's so many neat people we make eye contact with, we make glances, and chances are they're probably thinking the same thing. Like, God, that gal was really cute, or that guy was really sweet. I wonder if they would have been interested. Well, you'll never know unless you do something about it. So I so appreciate, Camille, everything that you say, you share, you add, and you enhance to our group. Before we wrap up, because we could go on and on and on about all this awesomeness with offline dating, and we challenge all of our listeners to get out there and make eye contact, smile, nod, and say hello. What are some of your last words of wisdom to send off our incredible group into the land of, hey, the great person could be like literally living next door and you walk past them with your dog every day. What are you going to do about it?
Do one thing that is different from all the other times that you pass them, or maybe you see someone that you think is cute, or you're intrigued by them, or you overheard an interesting conversation and you never would insert yourself or say anything, or you never have. Do that one thing that's a little bit outside your comfort zone that you've never done before, and that just watch how things shift, where that conversation leads to people that you meet. Because once you do it once and you cross that fear barrier and you're like, oh, that wasn't that hard, that was actually really enjoyable, you get that momentum to do it again and again and again. Now you're meeting all these people and have all these skills.
I love it. It is. It's definitely like a muscle. It's building confidence. It's getting out there. And, as we know, when you look up and smile at someone, you might be the only person that smiled to them that day. You might have just made their difference, but you never know who's watching you talking to that person. I've had so many people, like, I'll talk to some random person and then continue down the block, and another person will stop and say, oh, I noticed how you were really patient with that person. And so we're all looking for an in the conversation. And it's super great when someone meets you organically, because they see you who you are right then and there. You weren't trying to impress them. Maybe you were in your yoga clothes. Maybe you just went hiking. Maybe you just got off work. Maybe you're tired. Maybe you're ready for a night on the town. But they're seeing you because you weren't trying to impress them, because you didn't know they were going to be walking down the street unless you're predicting the dog walking moment that was all on schedule. But that's the thing, is really creating that. I love how you're saying, do something more, do something different than what you've been doing, because it's great you've been doing something, but obviously it's not getting the results you want. So really digging in and getting to know people for who they actually are.
Yeah, and you're going to have so much more fun with it. It's not another to-do. Trust me, as someone who tries to deflect all the other to-dos that people, want to add to our plates, like, it's not another to-do. It's fun. And so once you get into the groove of it, you start looking for little ways to do it, and you're growing while you're having fun, and you're going to meet your person that way.
I love that. That is such a perfect way to look at it. It's not another to-do. It is not something where it's like, oh, I've got to do this. It's more of a, oh, okay, I take a walk. I can say hi to people. Like, this is just, I go and eat. I laugh with my friends. Like, I look at people, I interact, I make myself available, I make myself approachable. And then you're doing something proactive in a positive way. And so you're at least feeling engaged in your own success. So that makes a huge difference. So I thank you so much, Camille. You rocked at the information. This was very, very helpful and really important for everybody just to kind of stop and think. There's opportunities everywhere. And I love your, no regrets, shortlist. Like, you've just tied in all these valuable points to really hone in on what's so valuable in just meeting people. There's somebody out there every day. There's so many cool people to meet, and they would love to get a chance to meet you too.
Totally. Oh, thanks so much for having me, Jen.
So thank you. And I look forward to. Yes, absolutely. I am just so thankful for everything that you do and everything that you're sharing with all of our group. And we're glad that we got to wrap up the year with your wonderful class. So thank you so much. And we're excited for everybody to give their feedback of what they've learned over the year from listening to you.
Awesome. Thanks so much for having me.